has warned us, but she has been on many of our investigations.
Well,
and she actually got something pretty scary happen at the defenestration. It even scared her.
wow. And you did have a sort of attachment. You had something follow you home from that bathroom, from the mirror. So you were lucky.
Yeah.
You were lucky. I take it eventually went away from you. So you were lucky there.
It went away because I don't think she meant me harm. But whatever punched June, that was not. I don't believe that was her. Just the feeling it was male. This is my feeling. And if women were trafficked there, I'm sure there was a lot of rough treatment of the women.
Oh yeah, I hate to say it. I've been married a couple times, but I'm 67, and my very first girlfriend. I had a friend, and I'm not going to go in the story, but he saved my life when I was 21. And actually, I will say it. I went out drinking with a bunch of friends. He owned a Chinese restaurant in Seattle. And I went in the bathroom to, because I drank so much, to throw up. And I passed out with my head in the toilet. And he happened to save my life, because if he wouldn't have pulled my head out of the toilet, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. But he had the most beautiful daughter. And I started dating her. And after maybe about 4 or 5 months, I was starting to fall in love with her. She said she loved me. He ended it really fast because he was old school Chinese. And he came here from the mainland. And he said, no, you cannot marry my daughter. You cannot see my daughter again. She's not good enough for you. And because the old school was that the girls were not equal to, like, they want boys. They don't want girls. And that was his thing. And I tell you, their ideas and thoughts of old school Chinese are completely different. Completely.
Yeah, it's not like that today. But back then, back in the old days, but actually, it doesn't matter if it's Chinese or not. If women are being trafficked, I don't think any women who are being trafficked.
Well, what I was saying is that they I hate to say it, they probably sold off a lot of their female children because the males, of the family, did not care to have a female a child. And that was all explained to me by my friend one time. We had a long conversation about this, and he educated me that, back even in China, they would, I don't want to go into it, but, back then, if you had a baby girl, sometimes they even let the baby girl die because they didn't want a girl. I mean,
back then. Yeah, I know. It's not really the case right now. It's changed quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's mostly a problem in rural China right now, from what I know. Like urban Chinese girls, actually, I've just been reading, there's a lot of self-made billionaires, female billionaires coming out of China right now, and a lot of female executives. So they've come a long way. But yeah, back in the day, especially in the 1800s or even, several decades ago, and the more rural and they are, it tends to be more like that.
Oh, yeah, they actually were sold off as basically sex slaves, and they would be brought over, and they were in San Francisco and places like that, and in seedy areas.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading the Barbary Coast, and there were lots of girls being sold here from China, but then there were, I don't know, women from everywhere being trafficked.
Oh, yeah.
In the Barbary Coast. It was like French women, there were Latina women. It was a wild, wild time back then. But yeah, I just don't want to give the impression that, Chinese are still like this. That
they absolutely are not. But I was talking about around the 1800s, 1890s, when all this stuff was going on. So, I mean, you were talking about, we were talking about these tunnels. We were talking about, these women, being, as sex slaves, all this stuff going on. Just figure how many of them died in those areas. and that their spirits are around there, and a lot of them, they were doped up by their owners on drugs too. So, I mean, after they were burned out, they were no use to them anymore. And not just Chinese, I'm talking about any woman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you read this book, The Barbie Coast, it was written in the 1920s. It is a fascinating read. And I honestly couldn't repeat some of the stories, or I was very uncomfortable telling them stories because it's so shocking. What was happening to the women, and there was gosh, I can't even say it because I don't want to upset people, but yeah, there was a lot of girls as young as 12.
Oh yeah,
from Europe, from Latin America, were just drugged sometimes and allowed. They would charge each man to take advantage of her. These young girls and women.
Yeah.
Anyway, it gets pretty ugly, but.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, too, is that area is so rich in spirits because of so many people died. And not just that. I mean, sailors were murdered. I mean, it was really bad back then. I mean, a lot of bad things happened. Probably just as bad as maybe New York, if maybe not even worse, because you never know. You go in a bar, you get all of a sudden drugged, and the next thing, like I said, you're on a sailing ship going to who knows where.
Oh yeah, Shanghai Kelly, I believe, was out in San Francisco. There's actually a bar named after him, or Spider Kelly? No, Spider Kelly. Sorry, but yeah, Shanghaiing did happen. People don't really know what that means anymore. I found out, reading this book, Shanghaiing they would kidnap people all the time in San Francisco. Sometimes they would have a trapdoor or throw them down or something, and yeah, there were tunnels. There is one funny story, though, in this book about the tunnels in Chinatown, that a lot of times they would take white people on tours of these tunnels to make money. This was back in the 1800s. And what they really did was, they weren't tunnels. They were huge courtyards that they walled off with fake walls. And they would hire Chinese people and have them run around with torches and take white people through there and tell them these are the mysterious tunnels when it was all faked.
Oh, wow. Now, because our time is almost up. I mean, again, why don't you tell us a little bit more what you do? If somebody wants to contact you in that area for, hiring you or wanting your help, how could they find you?
Well, they can find me. We have a Facebook page and Instagram called The Haunted Bay. And if they want to contact us, they can contact us there. I can also be contacted at my email for the channel. It's fliptizzy@gmail.com. That's F as in Frank, LIP as in Peter, T as in Tom, IZZY @gmail.com.
Okay. Now, I was looking at some of your YouTube creations on there. I was rather impressed.
Oh, thank you.
It kind of draws you right into it. It was almost like watching the Ghost Hunters. I mean, it really just dragged you right into what was being, filmed.
Yeah, thank you. We're very lucky to have a very good team. Matthew Abaya is a filmmaker and editor, and then Cody Koka, my other camera guy, they're really good. And having APR and having June Ahern and other mediums like Annalisa and Matt, I'm just going to shout out for them. We've been very fortunate, especially and also with all the establishments who've let us in.
So it sounds almost like, besides you following other ghost hunting groups, you guys are actually doing, ghost hunting on your own now?
Not really. We don't go out with equipment and try to, it's just us filming them. But things happen to us, and we kind of are pulled into it. It's more like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're pulled into it. It's really, we don't have, the ghost hunting equipment. None of us thought of ourselves as having abilities until things started to happen to us, like me feeling the female ghost in the bathroom. Yeah, I my very first experience of feeling something was very subtle, and it was at Preston Castle, which is a very haunted place. No, it wasn't subtle, actually. It's the first... Okay, let me back up. I was in Preston Castle. I started to get a little impression, and then I got scared that something in the hallway was going to attack me. And it turned out, and I didn't say anything, and then somebody else felt it. Something jump at them. So that's when I realized, like, my God, something's happening to me.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how much time we have left, but my abilities, whatever they are, really took off, which had nothing to do with ghost hunting, but it was after meeting a person. Because I'm also an actor, meeting a person in a play, and I don't know what happened, but when I met this person, I felt like I knew them. Even though I've never met them before, I knew them from a long time ago and lost them and found them again, and then we became friends, and we started talking, and then stuff really opened up for me. In my personal time, not when I'm filming.
Uh-huh.
But then I know we don't have much time, so I can't really go into detail. But then me and the friend, we kind of separate. We had a falling out, and gradually these experiences started fading away from me.
Interesting. Now,
so I don't know what that's about.
Now, was that recently, or back in time a little ways?
I met this person a few years ago, and then we stayed friends for 2 years. And for about a year and a half of that 2-year friendship, it got really intense for me on my personal time. Like, my friends who had deceased loved ones would talk about these, and then suddenly I would feel them. And then I was giving information that they would corroborate was true that I had no idea of before.
Wow.
And it scared me to the point where my legs would turn weak, and I was almost crying because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening to me, because this feels like I'm going in another dimension. I don't know what the heck's going on. And I actually started to sense the deceased father of that friend of mine who triggered me. That's actually how it started. I heard a voice in my head not even in my head, it was outside my ear when he was talking about his dead father. And I heard a voice yell in my ear.
Oh, wow. So now, go ahead. Mm-hmm. We got another minute or two.
I don't want to take too much of your time as we're ending, but that's what happened. Yeah, and then I heard a name in my head, and I found out that was his father's name. I didn't know his father's name. And then it continued every couple of months. Talking to a friend who had a dead boyfriend or dead brother, whatever, I would feel them, I would see them, stuff like that. I mean, see them in the mind's eye, I mean.
Well, it's starting to sound like you're developing your psychic ability.
Yeah, and the only reason I think it's more than my imagination, because I do know that our imagination can deceive us. The only reason I even think it was something is because I would come up with details, and they would say, yeah, like one woman, her dad had died, and we were talking in a cafe, and I was like, I think he's here, he's sitting next to me, and I got an image of a little boy in a soda fountain shop in front of a big soda, I said. And I said, does that make sense to you? And she says, well, he grew up in a soda fountain shop because his dad owned one.
Oh, wow. Well, hey,
things like that.
Yeah, we're down to like the last 2 minutes or so. Now, do you go out still quite often and go and explore and follow ghost hunters and all that, mediums and stuff yet?
We haven't done it in a few months, but I have a couple of places lined up. The holidays got in the way, and also we're all working and busy. We're doing this on our free time, so I do plan on getting back to it. And we actually just did an episode at a hotel in San Francisco for Christmas. I revived the tradition. I was trying to revive the tradition of Christmas ghost stories. Found a beautiful hotel in San Francisco, and we also had 3 mediums there, and we just basically followed them in the hotel to see what they found. So that's our last episode.
Oh, wow.
Our previous episode. We just put it up in December.
Well, again, tell everybody where they can find it on YouTube.
So we're on YouTube, and it's just called The Haunted Bay. So make sure you put the in front of it because Haunted Bay by itself is something else if you Google it. So yeah, YouTube, the Haunted Bay.
Oh, wow. Hey, Yang, I